These are the bits and pieces of one of the largest sculptures ever created on the planet. That is a finger. This is the kneecap. There you see the feet, and there you see the torso. The weight of the sculpture is estimated as having been 1,000 tons when it was in one piece. The quarry is 200 kilometers away, and so the block from which it was carved would have to have been at least 1,200 or 1,400 tons. The question is, was it carved in place in Aswan and moved here, or was the block moved here and then carved? And we are reasonably far from the Nile, so how was it transported 200 kilometers? So there are his toes, and here is a smaller statue next to it. And the next step is to actually climb up on top.
Memnonovy kolosy, dvě obří kamenné sochy, stojí nad západním břehem Nilu, proti Karnaku a Luxoru. Za jejich zády se rozkládá skalnaté úbočí, v němž byly po staletí budovány slavné skalní hrobky thébského pohřebiště. Kolosální dvojčata spodobňují od roku 1350 před naším letopočtem jednu a touž osobu. Amenhotepa III., sedícího na trůně v typické pozici s rukama na kolenou. Na královském trůně ve tvaru krychle jsou vyryta faraonova jména a tituly. Rozměry kolosů jsou opravdu působivé. Tyčí se do výšky 16,6 metrů. Stojí na podstavci vysokém 2,3 metru. Chodidla soch jsou dlouhá přes 3 metry. Původně byly sochy ještě vyšší, i s královskou korunou, která se nedochovala. Měřily 21 metrů.
And this is, in my opinion, weighing around 500 tons. One solid piece of granite, rose granite.
You see 500-ton base on which possibly a 1,000-ton sculpture rested.
Dnes tedy i s podstavcem sahají do výšky necelých 19 metrů.
Here are his toes.
Kolosy, jejichž váha je odhadována na 720 tun, byly postaveny z bloků červeného kamence.
The only thing was done in that time. There was so many things in other places. So we need 5,000 there, 5,000 here, 5,000 that spot, 5. So the whole nation will be busy just pushing and dragging the stones, which is not convincing.
But pushing and dragging is one thing, then lifting is another.
So this is the Colossi of Memnon, 1 and 2. And Tony's here in front to give us a sense of scale. The material used to make these is quartzite, which is very hard. The term quartz should give you an indication of the hardness of it. And the stone came from Cairo, which is 400 miles away. They are conservatively estimated at weighing 1,000 tons apiece. And what's most intriguing is the fact that with this one, you see it's made of multiple pieces. But this one, even though it has many cracks in it, etc., it appears to my eye that this is a solid piece of stone on a huge base. So if the stone was brought from 400 miles away, and it's quartzite, which has the hardness at least that of granite, how did they move it here, and how did they carve it? Because the dynastic Egyptians were a Bronze Age culture. They did not have steel or iron or diamond equipment. It is possible that this is a remnant of an older culture called the KEMET. And now this is the entrance to the SERAPEUM. which is where there are more than 20 boxes. The boxes are made of hard stone. Each one weighs more than 50 tons, and that's being very conservative. So as you can see, it's hewn, this area is hewn out of the bedrock. Big. So you see the lid of this one, and you see the box itself. They were found inside of these niches just like this. So the main Egyptological theory is that they were the burial places of sacred Apis bulls. But they're more beyond the door. But what's intriguing is the interior of the box, because the precision is supposedly very 21st century, or at least 20th century. Look at the scale of this. So again, this is one solid block of Rose Aswan granite. Conservative estimate 50 tons. The stone itself would have had to have come from Aswan itself, which is 500 miles away. So this is inside the SERAPEUM. Christopher Dunn, who has written a section of his second book about this site, states that the interior surface of this is within a few 10,000ths of an inch in terms of being perfectly flat.
Serapeum v Sakkře představuje pro oficiální egyptologii jednu velkou záhadu plnou mnoha otazníků. Nikdo nedokáže s naprostou určitostí říci, k čemu toto místo sloužilo. Oficiální doktrína říká, že zde bylo pohřebiště posvátných býků a pislů. Bohužel, jak již bývá v egyptologii zvykem, se ani v jednom případě nenašla uvnitř serapeuma v takzvaných sarkofázích jediná mumie býka. A jako již tradičně se tento jev přičítá vykradačům hrobek.
So we weren't able to film that very well because of the distance. Only Chris and two others were allowed in. But actually it's amazingly cool in here too. It's not like inside the pyramids, which are hot. But what Chris was able to show is that the flat surface of the interior of that massive box, combined weight of the box and the lid, at least 60, 70 tons, is that the flatness of the internal surface is within thousandths of an inch of being perfectly flat, and also that the corners are 90 degrees, not 89, not 91, but he has a precision square that he uses in the manufacturing industry. That's what he used, and he found that the corners were exactly-ish. So this is the thing is, all of these boxes, there are at least 22 of them in here. Again, combined weight, probably at least 60 tons combined weight, if not 80 or more tons. The lid by itself is more than 10 tons, but we see that. Sorry? The box is 70 tons, the lid is 30 tons. Okay, Stephen Mailer says the box itself is 70 tons, the lid is 30 tons. But what we're seeing is them in different states of completion. Some of them are very rough. That one is quite glossy smooth, but the ultimate one is supposedly right down here at the end. And we can go down and see close. And we can go down and see close, which is what we want.
Soudoví odborníci na opracování kamene tvrdí, že i dnes by to bylo velmi namáhavá a nákladná práce, která by vyžadovala strojní obrábění s využitím nejmodernější počítačové techniky. Dosavadní měření totiž potvrdila, že povrch je naprosto dokonale hladký s přesností žádná celá 0,5 až 0,5 tisícin milimetrů. Sarkofágy a nebo spíše jakési vany s víkem byly vytvořeny z té nejtvrdší žuly černého dioritu. Na opracování něčeho takového potřebujete něco mezi vodní pilou, laserem a nebo ještě tvrdší kámen upevněný na vrtačce, diamant. Představa, že něco takového vzniklo jen za pomocí měděných nebo bronzových dlát, působí opravdu hodně naivně.
By their conventional methods. And at least when they opened this tomb, this area in December 2012, the head of archaeology of ancient Egypt said to CNN, to MSNBC, to Al Jazeera, we don't know how this was done. And that's honest. We appreciate that, his honesty, because Egyptology cannot explain this to any degree.
Well, the idea that it was made for bowls, no matter how special they were, is just ridiculous. It's bull. So this box in particular is amazing because I got to look inside. And the outside, or the inside, is as smooth as the outside. To the hand, it's flat, as in flat as a glass tabletop. And how could that have possibly been achieved when it is at least 6 feet tall, it is at least 10 feet long, and at least 6 feet wide, and at least 15 inches thick, and the lid is solid and weighs much more than 10 tons. How could they have moved that block of stone from the quarry at Aswan? How could they have shaped it? How could they have brought it down into its niche? And again, there are at least 22 of them here. There are supposedly other chambers beyond in that direction, possibly vertically down as well. What was the function of these incredible stone boxes? We are at Dendere in Egypt, inside the temple of Hathor, or Hathor. And what we're going to visit is a secret chamber that only initiates during Egyptian and later times were allowed to see, because it contains very secret information that only those that were supposed to see were allowed to see.
Dendere leží 60 km severně od proslulého tajuplného střediska Luxoru. Nad úroveň terénu vyčnívají dnes ale jen 2/5 této úžasné stavby. Pod pouští leží 3 podzemní patra o 12 kryptách s výborně zachovanými reliéfy, nesmírné krásy a hieroglyfickými nápisy. Ukazuje se, že tady nejde jen o pouhé zobrazení náboženských symbolů, jak tvrdí archeologové, ale že se jedná naopak o zcela reálnou činnost.
Were they giants? Perhaps. Were they physical giants, mental giants? And we look at what we're looking at here. They're holding some type of structure with a snake inside. What is this? Now, we're taught that these beings represent the very ancient dynastic Cometians. So even though they're wearing dynastic headdress, the ancient Cometians are represented here. These are the dynastic people, smaller. They're just observing what was already here. Now, the lotus here nicely. This has been described first by Christopher Dunn as a Crookes tube, perhaps an electrical bulb. And again, snake throughout every culture, from Asia through Africa, represents electricity, kundalini energy. So it's electricity. This seems to be working well. This is the Jed pillar, supposed to represent the backbone of Wizard, of Osiris. But here, it looks like it's what somebody said, a condenser, because it's working with the electricity. And again, we're not talking wireless electricity, because it is plugged in. Plugged in. Okay, so it's showing that there was a knowledge, and everybody talks about they had a knowledge of electricity. Had a knowledge of electricity. This is supposed to be ancient Cometian. He's holding the bulb, but here, the snake is being deflected. We have a creature here. We don't know what this creature is. Originally, we thought this was what the Greeks called Isdes, the companion to Jahoti, the baboon. But other people have said this is not a baboon's tail. This could be reptilian, whatever. But the important thing is what the texts say. This is a warning that this is a knowledge, a power that can be abused. So we say this is the origin of the myth of Atlantis, right here, the idea that there was a power that was abused and they suffered for it, and it's a warning against using that power. And this clearly shows that the ancient Cometians, the giant here, he's got 2 hands on the snake, they had that power under control. They had that power under control. But the warning is here, modern people can abuse times.
And also the stone difference, Stephen?
Okay, here, here is limestone. Yeah, and then it's sandstone. This is sandstone. So it looks like it's all one continuous scene. Everything looks almost seamless, but you do see seams. What this is this was taken from two different temples. One which was limestone showing the same scenes, another which was sandstone showing the same scenes. And yet it shows the same scene almost seamlessly put together. If you go through all these walls and take shots, you'll see sometimes it's just a little off, but very well done. Very pieced together, so everybody that comes here thinks this is one contiguous scene. It is not. It is taken from two different temples and put together. And that's amazing.
Lotosové stonky jsou znázorněním kabelových vodičů, které vedou k hranatým nádržkám, na nich trůní bůh vzduchu Šu. Velké bublinovité útvary určitě každý technicky vzdělaný člověk diagnostikuje jako žárovky. Hadi v jejich vnitřku znázorňují žhavící dráty. Z jedné strany pak vychází další had, připomínající na první pohled izolovaný kabel. Podobná vyobrazení navíc byla nalezena i na mnoha starých papírech po celém Egyptě. Není proto divu, že návštěvníkům je zpřístupněna v současné době jen jedna ze zdejších krypt. Jde totiž přímo o celou dokumentaci související s elektřinou, s její výrobou a užitím.
So this is the exterior of what is called the second pyramid, or some call the Khafre pyramid. The lower casing stone, that which is still here, is rose granite from the quarry at Aswan, and then it goes part way up, and then after that it's Tura limestone, which is almost pure calcium carbonate. And as part of the Giza power plant hypothesis of people such as engineer Christopher Dunn, the exterior skin to some degree acted as an insulator, and then the limestone that was the core is full of salts and minerals, and so it could actually conduct electricity. So again, it's like this was a giant resonating structure built thousands of years before the dynastic Egyptians. And this is what we see in many parts of the world, especially in Peru and Bolivia and here in Egypt. Structures thousands of years older than the famous culture which supposedly built them. But in fact, the story is that a very ancient, high-tech culture of some kind constructed not only the pyramids of the Giza Plateau, but a massive tunnel system underneath the Giza Plateau as well, going north, south, east, and west, and going for miles. Something happened to them, something catastrophic. And then afterwards, what we call the pharaohs, or the pharaonic Egyptians, or dynastic Egyptians, moved into the area about 5,000 years ago and adopted these sites, of course, these places, and renamed them, and in some cases reused them. So, with the second pyramid here, this is where the stone was quarried in terms of the blocks themselves. And it's so heavily weathered that we can't see the tool marks involved. But not only that, here you can see that they cut the blocks down, starting at the top of the plateau, straight down like that, in order to remove the blocks and create this shape.
So obvious that the caves that Brian took us into.
The wavelengths of the sound frequency. So if we believe these were for sound. But what I wanted to point out is that huge crack in the wall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So if this was even made during the dynasty while the crack, or if it was made with the crack in here, they would usually fill it. Same like the crack we saw down there in the caves under.
Yeah.
Remember the huge crack in the wall that was filled with a material like cement?
Right.
Yeah, so if they had it here, if they had it during the structure, they would fill it with the same material. But this one looked like something shook it, that it isolated the whole gate, because this was originally one block. When we find things use this huge slab, and instead of like something like that half here, should work, especially that if you're gonna kiss it later.
Let's see, here it's pretty good.
We would bolt the sides together. They said, no, this is one piece. How would you do this? He said, the guy required us. I have no idea.
They can't cut that inside corner.
That's what
That's a stickler, isn't it?
This is the second pyramid at Giza, and now we're going to approach the third, the smallest of the three, which some call Menkaure, but we simply, at the KEMET school, call this the third pyramid, because, again, we don't believe that these were in any way, shape, or form tombs of pharaohs, but were part of an energy system. Engineer Christopher Dunn was the man who initiated the theory that the series of three pyramids were in fact an energetic system, and that they were created quite possibly thousands of years prior to the dynastic Egyptians. There's a series of tunnels and shafts underneath this plateau that stretch for miles, north, south, east, and west. They go under these pyramids, and originally they carried water, and it was believed that water set up some kind of vibration because the proportions of the tunnels were exacting to create this vibratory effect, and that caused these huge things to set up a vibration. The vibration was transferred into some kind of energy, probably not electrical, but vibratory, and was used for, some say, to set up some kind of force field around the area, which allowed the builders to enter into much higher state of consciousness than we are capable of today. Whether you believe it or not, it's quite a prominent theory. So here we see these weird knob-like things that are on many of the surfaces, and that is similar to ancient pre-Inca structures in Peru as well.
Look at this one, it's got some of the pink, but it's very similar to this one, but just streaks of the pink.
So originally this entire pyramid was encased in pink granite that came from Aswan, which is 500 miles away. So the question is, if all of this casing stone was removed afterwards by later cultures who wanted the material as for building their own buildings or statues or whatever, then why are there casing stones still at the bottom? Doesn't it make sense to start removing from the bottom and go upwards rather than from the top and come down? The theory, according to what we call the Giza power plant, or the energetic concept, is that several thousand years ago, these generators, these energy generators, there was a catastrophic event of some kind, and they literally went into, not overdrive, but they were over flooded with energy, and that caused this hyper vibration to the surface, and that may have been what caused the casing stones to literally peel off due to this hyper vibration to it, and that also turned the system off, and they haven't worked to this very day. But if you go inside these pyramids, you feel this residual energy that's still functioning. It's as though it's running at 1/10 of 1% of its original capacity, possibly. And then here you see mud brick, which is a very primitive form of building on the outside of megalithic. So clearly the mud brick comes later and is more primitive than the prior workmanship, and this is counter to conventional archaeology. So this is just one of several examples that we encounter, especially here in Egypt as well as in Peru and Bolivia, where you have more sophisticated technology existing prior to less sophisticated. Conventional scholarship tells us that we went from primitive people to sophisticated people, but in fact it's more likely that human civilization went in cycles, primitive to very high, to a collapse, to rising above and a collapse, and that's why sites in countries such as Egypt, here at the third pyramid, we're encountering very sophisticated work that pre-existed what is conventionally thought as dynastic work. The dynastic work, in fact, was better than the later Greek work, which was better than the Roman work, which came after that.
And the man in the chair, Shib, suit. And the jar shape called KEMET.
It's only because it's broken and fallen down.
That's crazy, right?
Out.
Dude, that's
KEMET. Not leaving.
That is amazing. That cannot be.
Of course not.
It's amazing. Resonance, like you can hear it, like it rings like a bell. And the only reason we can do that is because the obelisk is broken and standing up, but they all could ring like bells. Musical instruments, harmony, resonance.
So what you've just witnessed is the fact that this segment of an obelisk resonates to one specific frequency and one frequency only. And that backs up the theory that the original function of the obelisk was not something to be written on to glorify a pharaoh or other kind of ruler, but in fact was designed to be tuned to a specific frequency because it was part of an ancient system of energy transmission of some kind. Possibly the Great Pyramid and other pyramids on the Giza Plateau were energy generators based on water traveling underneath the surface through tunnels, which I've been in, causing the Great Pyramid itself to resonate. And that almost like Wi-Fi, that signal went out to the obelisk, and the obelisk collected it and created a localized space of energy of some kind. Was it used for electricity? No, probably not. It's probably very subtle energy used for higher mental function. And if that is the case, that and the Great Pyramid and some other structures on the Giza Plateau predate the dynastic Egyptians. And when the dynastic Egyptians showed up 5,000 years ago, they simply inherited and renamed the structures themselves. And that's also why we do not find, and have not found, any bodies inside the pyramids, because they were not, at least in the case of the Giza Plateau, the three big pyramids, they were not created as tombs. They were created as energetic structure by a mysterious high-tech culture, whether you want to believe it or not.